Now, this has some importance for the armed forces.
Yes.
What has happened is, my lord, there was an application for clarification which was filed on behalf of the Union of India, pursuant to, my lord, the judgment in Joseph Shine. Joseph Shine, as your lordships know, strikes down adultery. And broadly, my lords, the grounds were that this was essentially the patriarchal aspect of that provision, which treated women as chattel. Now, my lord, be that as it may, we're not directly concerned with Joseph Shine because that was decided on a different. My lord, we are really concerned with what amounts to discipline or indiscipline in the army or the armed forces generally, and what is unbecoming conduct. Because we have our own, my lord, the armed forces would have their own code of conduct. And therefore, my lords, if what has happened, let me just indicate as to what has occasioned this.
Finding it in the form of a clarification.
My lord, what happened was this was a clarification because what happened was this, my lords. There were officers who were charged for unbecoming conduct on the ground that while my lords, that they were having illicit
Feeling the affection or something. The expression used is.
my lord, illicit relationship, my lord, you may call it an extramarital affair or whatever, my lord, unbecoming conduct. We call it unbecoming conduct or, my lord, indiscipline. So what amounts to that? Now, when, my lord, an officer is serving out there in the field and his family is stationed in the, my lord, family accommodation away from the field, and another officer, my lord, enters into, it may be consensual in nature, but therefore, my lord, can we not take action? What has happened is that the AFT took a view in some cases that it must be quashed because of Joseph Shine. So, my lord, this would certainly create some instability within our ranks because, my lord, ultimately we have to be able to, my lord, inspire confidence in the officer who goes to serve in the field. And, my lord,
You're saying that they can be charged for misconduct.
Misconduct, indiscipline, unbecoming conduct, and, my lords, because adultery has very different patriarchal, my lord, connotations under 497. Now, here under this, my lords, our action we can even take against a female officer. There is nothing unequal or it's completely gender neutral. But so this is the issue, my lords, and therefore, my lords, this has been put before a
So
constitution.
which part of the judgment
Yes.
of Joseph Shine's actually creates a problem for you?
My lord, simply because what has happened
What is it that you're seeking to
my
clarify?
lord, we are seeking to clarify that the Joseph Shine judgment striking down section 497 will not come in the way of the armed forces taking action for under certain provisions, my lord, under our respective acts, including the Army Act.
Does it preclude you from doing it? Does the
My lord,
judgment
what has happened is the AFT has taken such a view.
But then should you not independently challenge that? I mean, instead of
No, we have
clarification.
We have challenged it, but, my lords, it requires some because, my lord, they are using the Constitution bench judgment in Joseph Shine.
Say the Constitution bench is either right or wrong.
Right.
If it is wrong, you have a remedy of review.
No, my lord, we are not saying it is wrong because it said nothing in respect of the army.
That's right, exactly. Therefore, if you say it is wrong in individual cases, if you have challenged it,
We have.
you have challenged it.
We have, my lord, and the question has been left open. What has happened in one of those judgments, we have
You
it.
can always pursue that, saying that Joseph Shine cannot stand in the way of your, taking action against somebody who is.
My lord, this has specifically been referred to a Constitution bench.
It is said the criminality about adultery
Right, right,
has been done away with.
right, right.
So that doesn't mean that the conduct is that does not mean that the conduct cannot be treated as misconduct.
Absolutely, which is what we are saying. Correct, correct.
Is there any taboo against that?
Because under section 63 and section 45, you are
Absolutely. We are relying on that. In fact, we had charged one of these officers under 45 and the AFT took a view, and this is coming up in multiple cases. Yes.
Any kind of a misconduct defined
Yes.
has to be examined independently.
That's exactly what we are saying, my lord.
How this judgment will come in your way in taking a
My lord,
decision?
this is what unfortunately the AFT has been doing.
That you can challenge.
Lord, we have
What happened
challenged
to that?
in one of those decisions, my lord, the court, this court,
Yes. relying on this, this was your,
My lords, because my lord, there he had been acquitted, so that was taken care of. But as far as the question on section 63 is concerned, my lord, the issue was left open. So, my lords, what has happened is that this has been referred to your lordships because Joseph Shine is a constitution bench judgment. So, 3-judge bench has referred to. So, my lord may just decide the issue whenever convenient. It won't take very long.
Just 1 minute.
Yes.
immoral act. Any
My
immoral
lord,
act
we don't use the.
is not a criminality.
Yes,
May not be a
exactly,
criminality.
madam.
May I submit?
Exactly the issue, madam. They be treated as a criminal or just a simple misconduct? That is the only issue, madam.
May I submit?
Lordship has taken away the criminality part from the adultery provision, madam.
That's correct.
But they are still treating them as a criminal, madam. That is the only concern.
No,
That is the whole point. If it is a.
see, a man may not be, it might be slightly different to say that you should not be punished because the woman cannot be treated as a chattel
Yes,
and dragged to the court and things like that. You know, in the uniformed services,
yes,
where discipline is of the paramount importance,
yes,
the aberrant conduct, at least as it is understood to be, conduct which involves actually shaking up the life of the officers, because everybody is ultimately dependent on family as a unit for society, and the integrity of the family is primarily based on the faithfulness that each spouse expects of the other. So if this is going to shake up, discipline, the life, the even tone of somebody's life, and the armed forces must have, some kind of, they should have some kind of assurance that they take action. How can you cite Joseph Shine and say that, it cannot be?
May I submit, Willis? I am
Can I
appearing
make
for
one
It's not exactly desirable conduct. See, when you say that it should not be treated as criminality, and it's not a criminal offense, the court is actually, in this particular case, actually taken a value judgment of its own, substituted that for that the legislature with reference to fundamental rights and said it is violative of fundamental rights. Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
But the employer says, you take a case of a private employee, don't forget about the state. Supposing the private employer has his own view, he says that we will not permit this, and we treat this as misconduct. Treating it as an item of misconduct, action is taken. Can you produce Joseph Shane and say, no, you can't?
Not at all.
madam.
Not at all.
If you
Shall I make a very
if
short
a private employer can be permitted to do that, then why not stay?
Willis, may I just make one?
Shall I make, my lord, I was appearing for Joseph Shine. But shall I make a very short submission, my lord, in answer to your lordship's query?
Yeah.
I was for the petitioner in Joseph Shine.
We know that.
I am just making a very short answer to that. As your lordships were observing, there is nothing for a clarification at any rate. What I am respectfully placing, my lord, as your lordships were observing, including Joseph Shine, we only, my lord, challenged the constitutionality of 497 of the IPC and 198(2) of the Criminal Procedure Code. These three sections, or this half a dozen sections, were in the Army Act, in the Navy Act, and in the Air Force Act, were not the subject matter of Joseph Shine. So what essentially happens is, it is something the respondent center cannot have a case which the petitioner in Joseph Shine did not have. We cannot now expand the scope of the repetition in a clarification application. That's what I am respectfully pointing out, my lord, as your lordships were observing. Now, my lord, as your lordships were saying, if at all in a particular case, a defense in the light of Joseph Shine was taken, but it is then for the center or for the authority to prosecute, to pursue that particular case. But one case, in United States Court of Appeal, Perez versus State of Roseville, but was a case where a departmental action was taken for the alleged bad conduct. Then the United States Court of Appeal decided in Perez versus State of Roseville, one will have to find out the nexus between the alleged act and his official duty. Likewise, but in our country also, unless and until my lord, it is agitated in a particular given case. This cannot be decided now. But the Joseph Shane decided only 498, and the Lords may also appreciate one fact. Neither of these sections.
You take the case where there is an enumerated item entering into an illicit relationship with somebody else,
Yes.
having a live-in relationship with another man's wife,
Yes.
amounts to misconduct.
Yes.
Correct? Can you
Yes.
apply Joseph Shine and say,
No, it cannot be. That's what I am also saying. Joseph Stein did not decide that.
that's exactly what you're saying? That
Yeah.
doesn't.
May I just make one submission?
Joseph
That is
Stein
simple.
did not
Cannot-
decide that. It is beyond the scope of Joseph Stein.
It is a simple
Can I
question.
just make one submission?
Yes.
Section 45 and 63 of the Army Act are very clear. If at all any person subject to the Army, Navy or Air Force Act behaves in any manner which is unbecoming of his conduct as an Army officer or Navy officer, Air Force officer, he is likely to be, he is absolutely liable to be punished for misconduct under the 45 and 63. 63 says any officer or any member of the armed forces subject to this act, if at all behaves in a manner prejudicial to army discipline.
Probably this officer, additional officer,
But
what people is concerned about,
My lords,
some of the observations in Joseph Shine,
my lords,
which perhaps tends to sort of give the impression
my lords.
that you will be intruding into the liberty and the freedom of the individual.
We will see
to make
it.
a choice.
My lords,
But freedom appears to be to have an illicit relationship.
very well.
You cannot go there.
To that, my lords, to that, my lords.
I mean, that cannot.
May I just say this, my lord?
One more
To
thing.
this, my lord.
One-
Yes.
Shall
Now, in this, suppose is for this sanction, of course, in the light of the decision, he cannot be penalized.
Yes, my lord.
But at the same time, the question is whether he can be subjected to disciplinary procedure.
Very, my lord,
In terms of the
That's
relevant.
that is what we are trying to answer. As your Lordship Justice Ravi Kumar was observing, but what I would respectfully answer to that, Lord may kindly appreciate. But none of these sections,
He cannot be penalized under the provisions of the IPC.
That is different.
But certainly under the provisions of the Army Act, he can be penalized.
that goes without saying. That's what I am also saying. But what I am
Madam, I
respectfully
would
pointing
request
out.
you to just wait a minute, please. Just a minute. My lord, what we are saying is that because there is such a large number of cases which are coming up before the AFT has taken a view. Now, my lord, if we keep appealing in individual cases, which of course we have to do, in the meantime, my lord, there are so many disciplinary actions which are being stalled, and it is very dispiriting, my lords, for the officer who is serving in the field. So, my lord, that kind of confidence we have to give our officers.
There the solution is,
Yes.
in one case,
Yes.
the matter is decided in one of those cases where the party is also heard, and this court, if you are going to have a final decision, this court is
I think, my lord,
now.
we are requesting this court because it
But
has
why
already
should we
been
do it in a
before.
clarification.
My lord,
We think
my
that
lords, for once and for all, it will take care of the problem. It won't take very long, and your lordships may have to go on.
in one of those matters where you are quoting an order against
Right.
you,
Right.
you can challenge it, right? That particular decision with the person also on the party array. So he will have to say, I don't know whether he's here in your clarification.
No, he's not
here. So we are invited
My lord-
to make a clarification in the absence of a person who is going to be affected.
No, my lord, may I put
That's
it
not
this way?
proper.
My lord, we can certainly implead those
Why
parties.
should we?
No, I'm just suggesting this, my lords, because ultimately, my lords, it requires clarification, and this court.
How are you
Judge-
here? How are you here? You are
Yes.
here because there is an AFT order
Right.
which takes a view that the employee whom you have charged with misconduct is protected by Joseph Shine. We take it that's your problem.
Yes.
Still.
Yes.
That order can be independently challenged. Which is why we began by saying whether
Right.
you say that Joseph Shine is in any way wrong. You say you have no quarrel with Joseph Shine. You say Joseph Shine is fine.
My lord, because that is the way we are reading Joseph
That's
Shine,
right,
which
exactly.
is, yes, that is the way we are reading Joseph
Once you
Shine.
accept that Joseph Shine is
Right.
right, this clarification business I think should not be sorted to.
My lord,
It's better that you carry the matter. You will have a final
Please
discussion.
consider-
The other person also on the party area, you will have a discussion.
Milord, just give me a minute. Let me just confirm.
That will be better.
Then can I just make one submission? Instead of tinkering with Joseph Shine, what my lord said is absolutely the correct way of going about it, because the person involved in one of my clients, in fact, has suffered 3 months rigorous imprisonment for allegedly having an extramarital affair with somebody else, some unmarried woman. However, my lord, it doesn't fall under the ingredients at all of Joseph Shine or adultery. But what happens is Joseph Shine by itself, my lords, has secured in dignity and equality to women, not making them subservient to the husband or his consent or on that footing. However, my lords, to say that what they are trying to make out probably is that culling out or classifying army wives, what their submission in the application is quite shocking. They say that army wives are living separately in in separated family quarters, and their husbands, the officers, are at the border. So the husband should not have insecurity in their minds that their families are dealing with undesirable actions. Well, this is an affront to any army wife. In fact, me being one.
No,
Why
it's
do-
not
why do-
applicable to army wives. No.
Absolutely,
correct.
and that the
I
context.
may also point out, I may also point out, Lord, more explicitly, but a review petition was filed.
Let her make the submission.
Well, because if my lords just reads the contents of this application, they are actually the prayer may be
Why
very
do you say it's an affront to the?
because
why-
they just read one paragraph, my lords.
No, you can tell us in your own words. Don't
Yes,
you?
sir. What they say is to ensure that all personnel perform their duties without unnecessary concern for their families. There is a system where frequent visits to families living away from their spouses by officers, JCOs, is a regular feature. In view of the aforesaid judgment, there will be always a concern in the minds of the army personnel who are operating far away from their families under challenging conditions about the family indulging in untoward activity. Well, is this paragraph and also some.
See, it's only concerned with the army officer involved.
So,
If the concerned lady or a male
absolutely.
is having a relationship with a person who is not an army personnel,
That's right, my lords.
that is not prohibited.
Absolutely. So, what happens is, where do they draw the line? If an army wife.
Gives a complaint.
Just hear their question, please.
Wife of the officer gives a complaint that he's having an affair with somebody. Or you're talking about the adultery being committed by the wife, isn't it? Wife of the
Lord,
officer.
in this particular case, yes, that we
Yeah.
are talking about, yes, we are talking with another officer. With another
Another officer.
officer. In
But-
this case.
No, in the event the lady is the officer and
Both, it's gender neutral. Our action will be absolutely gender neutral in that sense.
But in
So,
that-
my lords, I just want to say that please do consider, because your lordships are taking up these matters, because this may, what has happened is, and that's why, my lord, the 3-judge bench referred it to the constitution bench,
So what
because,
is there anything in the judgment
right,
which stands in the way of your, treating this
Right.
kind of conduct
yes.
as misconduct? Is there anything in the judgment which precludes you from taking that?
My lord, because, my lord,
For
the
example, supposing the judgment says in some part
yes,
that it's perfectly all right for a married woman to have an affair, perfectly all right, then it can't be misconduct.
my lord, very frankly, my lord, because our list came very, very late at night and I was informed in the morning, I have not had the chance to comb through Joseph Shine in such detail.
Unless you do that
So,
and point
yes,
that out.
yes.
Nothing is stated, my lord, in the clarification application either.
No, so my lord, what has happened is
One
the
point I
three-judge
may make.
bench has advisedly, my lord, put this
Why don't you
before
then
five judges.
go through the judgment?
Yes, I'll go through it in
And
more
then if
detail.
there is anything.
One point I may make. One point I may make. You know,
Sir,
none of these sections.
There's no need to spend more time on it. Give a date, that's all.
Yes, I think fair enough, fair enough.
And we have told you our view.
I've.
There is nothing in the judgment which stands in the way. You will be advised to withdraw the application.
And then go
we'll-
directly.
And go and, challenge those individual orders where you have a problem.
Right.
If we will definitely reserve the liberty to. you have that.
Right. So your lordship may keep it on another date. I'll get back to your lordships on this because we do not also want a situation where, my lord, before this court, it comes up before a smaller bench, which it will. And, my lord, that bench would be
That's
then
right,
bound by
that's right.
5 judges.
Ms.
Yes.
Badri, one thing more.
Yes.
Any immoral conduct
Yes.
of an officer in his official duties,
He would have read this, had those orders. But to the best of my knowledge, my lords, there is no such matter. In fact, yesterday, one of my matter was dismissed and held that misconduct because of adultery and his dismissal.
That's why we say that a case-to-case examination is the only way out. A case-to-case examination cannot be done in a clarification application without the parties. It's a totally different thing.
Both of you
One
counsel
point I mean.
both of you counsel are aware of the pain, deep pain that adultery creates in a family. We have held so many sessions as judges in the high courts, in habeas corpus jurisdiction, and we have seen how families are torn asunder with adultery. I mean, this is a thought, we thought, we should keep to ourselves, but we are just telling you, don't treat it in a very lighthearted manner. If you have experience, what happens in a family when adultery takes place?
families are broken.
Completely broken. And children, I know, just I recall one incident. There were 2 children, mother committed adultery, and she filed a habeas corpus. She wanted to interact with the children. They came, they were 13 and 11, I think. They even refused to talk with their mother. I tried my level best. Such a, it really broke my heart on that thing. That's the kind of rancor, that's the kind of hatred, the kind of, even violence as it happens.
And it's still a
That
grounding.
part of it, that part of it has been taken care of by Joseph Shine itself, and that has been retained as a ground for divorce, even in Joseph Shine.
That's right. You
We are concerned, we are concerned. None of these sections you Lord make highly appreciate is connected as in nexus.
Joseph Shane, let's not waste it.
My lord, I have filed an application for placing certain important documents on record, my lord.
Let me censor on that.
IA number 12131401.
First of all, let her see whether she is going to press the application, otherwise.
Right.
Yes.
We can give this,
Lord may kindly fix a date for that.
this is a small matter, it shouldn't take.
No, it won't take very long.
We can have it on the 16th, where we have put that matter like this.
16th of your Lordship is intending it?
6th of December, will I give?
All right, very well.
Yes, 6th of December.
Yes.
Yes.
Would my lord just, I would just.
Including, my lord, the question of maintainability, your Lordship may hear on that, my lord, if the sender is not withdrawing it. Because we have serious issues with respect to its maintainability. A review petition was earlier dismissed. It comes, my lord, after the dismissal of the review petition.
We are only concerned with
Let
the
us see,
armed
let us see,
forces,
let us
my
see.
lord.
I would just request them to supply, just to provide us with the orders with AFT, because to my best of my
You
knowledge.
request, why do you need a court's order for that?
Right.
Obliged, grateful.
Grateful.